Okay.
How good is it?
So now I have to go to our channel, find our live stream, and bump the chat in. So
doesn't say we're live just yet.
no, you got to remember there's that delay on everything as well. There you go, we are live. So now I have to go to our. I'll have to turn that down in a second. Channel. Find our. Turn that down. That was horrible.
That was absolutely terrible.
You heard it.
Oh yes, I did.
Ooh, that's not good.
So let's go here. Post.
Oh, hang on. Let's change it to live chat.
Yes, that was a weird one.
I'll just get that up there and out of the way.
Share public. Share to feed. Share to group. Paranormal Collective.
How quick was that tonight? Providing it works, of course. Getting it all set up.
I know, it was good, hey?
Chat. Oh, sorry. It's hard to type past my microphone. I've just gone chat is type. Oh. Let's make sure it goes up. Yep, chat is live. There you go, it's up. As usual, I forget to put my lights on. Too busy getting everything ready. That'll do.
All right, well, I'm now going to go live.
We are now live. You can just share the link.
Yeah, already done. Already done.
Yep.
And then...
Obviously, we'll wait until a few people pop in before we kickstart everything. Oh, my stream deck's working again. The other day, the other day, all the titles disappeared, and because I had the same logo for our show on each of the buttons, I just got a whole lot of it. It would have worked if I'd remember which one, but all the titles disappeared. But they're all back again now. So hopefully people, because I didn't put the reminder up until late, so I'm hoping there's a few people going to pop in.
Subscribe.
There's one person watching. And that's probably,
it's probably me.
Probably me. Well, if you're watching and I'm watching, there's two. So and it's only showing one. So.
Well, we're also live on Twitch.
Well, we're pretty much live wherever we share the link, I guess. But like I said, it sort of takes away from the YouTube analytics if we're always sharing a link to 1,000 different places and people watching from different places, because it's not coming up on YouTube like it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping I can get through the show tonight, because like I said, I've had this really bad back and I haven't been able to sit in a chair for long.
Well, now that you said that, you're going to have to start moving in a second.
There we go.
Get yourself a comfy cushion to sit on.
Yeah, no, not doing that.
Why not?
Oh, I should be right soon. It's on the improve now, but it was a killer.
You know it's going to take longer because you're getting older now. Older than last year.
Well, the last time I did tiling, it was just normal tiles, and they were a piece of cake. But when you've got mosaic tiles on those mats, and what happens is they all start to slide down. You've got to continually work them up. And I've got it sounds funny, but I've got a particularly large bench top. And leaning across.
Wouldn't it be easier sitting on the bench top?
Yeah, but it's brand new. I wasn't wanting to get any marks on it or anything, so.
Put a piece of cardboard on it.
I did. I had some stuff made up specifically the same width as the joints between the tiles, so that I sat that on the bench top, and then I just laid the tiles direct on top of this board, so there was that same 3mm gap. So when I did the grouting, the grout was all the same, but obviously with mosaic tiles, some of them move.
Oh, they do. So, that's the beauty of mosaics, though. They're not supposed to be perfect.
No, well, they're not perfect, but it does look really effective. I haven't done the...
I'm surprised you didn't put LED lights in with the tiles. I know there's LED lights coming.
No, there's LED lights there already. But they're under the bench top, lighting up the tiles.
Oh.
Not under the bench top, sorry, underneath the overhead cupboards.
Yeah, I knew that was happening.
Yeah.
So we've got a slow night so far.
We've got a very slow night so far. We're 5 minutes in and there's nobody there.
I'm all alone.
And that's certainly not the way we're going to get people in by singing.
Why not?
Funny enough,
I have a great singing voice for karaoke.
Like I said, I did a time lapse of the kitchen, and then I did a time lapse of me doing the tiling and everything to go to this video from one extreme to the other.
Yeah,
because we filmed the whole process. Excuse me, and I had to get all the settings set back on my camera, so I'll put that back up. I've had to reset all that from time lapse back into normal, and then of course, obviously, when I was doing the tiling the other night and the grouting, it was at night time. I couldn't see what I was doing, so I had to take all my lights in there, flick them onto bright white, and light the whole splash back up.
Hey, we got 3. Who's in here? We got 3 people.
They've got to come in the chat and say hello so we know who they are first up, because we're just
James said he wasn't going to be able to jump on.
Yeah.
Very cool. Fair enough.
No, we've got a very controversial little thing that we're going to talk about tonight. Jeremy knows about it because we were talking about it just before we started.
Did we have to talk about B being an opposite? No, I'm joking. I was going to say, I was like, I better not probably get pinged in the first 30 seconds.
Nah, well, we'll give it a few. It usually works out that it's almost 10 minutes into the show before we actually put our title screen up. So providing we can behave up to that point, we should be right.
How are we?
Hey, Fernando, how are you, mate? Are you in your little studio today, or your computer with your microphone? If so, we might bring him in for another chat. He's posted his first video up this week, and
he's probably going to rub in that he's got some real cool places that he visits.
Well, it's not rubbing it in. It's just...
No, it's not.
He's lucky.
Very. Are we going all right?
Yeah, we're good, mate. We're good, mate. How are you? It's been a quiet week for me because of all the kitchen renovation stuff, so that's now finished, and hopefully we will be good to go.
He's in his studio by the looks of it, or office.
Do you want to come on in a little bit to have a chat? I'll let you know when. We've got 4 in now, so it's slowly starting to pick up just a bit.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, because I actually posted a reminder. I didn't actually post the link up in a different page, so maybe I should have done that. But
what page do you want it in?
I can't even remember what the group's called now, to tell you the truth. It's one that they're not too bad, so he's ready to go. Okay, so we haven't even started the show yet. This is just the pre-run a bit where we talk a lot of rubbish until we get a few people in. We've actually lost one already.
Was it Project Dark Night and Horror?
Yeah. Yeah, so if you share the link in there, we might get a few people in from that. G'day, Carl. How are you? You're going to enjoy what we're talking about tonight. You'll get right into this one.
Carl will be sitting there with a... I can't even say that.
Did you?
I can't. Yeah, with a conspiracy chub.
Oh, God. You had to say it, didn't you? Yeah. It is a bit...
Well, that was a different choice of words than what I was going to use originally.
It is kind of conspiracy based, this one. Hey, Mark, how are you, mate?
What? No, but that's the thing. It is, but it isn't. Because there's a lot of truth to this place.
Yeah, well, yeah. And there's a lot of secrets as well, which just leaves it totally open to any kind of conspiracy theory aficionados, or you know what I think about this subject anyway. But
what subject?
Gives it away when I start talking about it, doesn't it?
I know. Carl's on the edge of his seat. Hey, Carl, the way that I sit, I'm always on the edge of my seat.
Oh, I tried it once, and this one, the chair flipped on me. The chair flipped on me, so I don't want to do that one again. Have you ever done that where you push back on your chair with the wheels and it's hit a bit and you've gone feet up? I've done that at work in front of everyone, so that was a bit. That was a bit of a weird one. So,
all right. So,
I'm not sure what you're doing, but you let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Yeah, so we should do this starty bit and then get right into it.
Oh, if you'd like to.
No, we're going to try and get it right this time and not talk through the title bit. So here we go. Yeah, there you go. We are now live. We've actually started the show.
I think we did it.
And we did it. We didn't talk through the start music, so...
I'd like to thank my mum and my dad.
Oh, dearie me. So, yeah, what we're going to talk about tonight, and obviously the conversation is going to go where the conversation is going to go, because that's the whole nature of these live streams. Yeah. We're going to talk about the deep, dark secrets of the Vatican. Mm-hmm.
And no, we're not talking about the Pope.
No, we're not. No. This is about Vatican City itself, not specifically the Pope. But as everybody knows that knows me, I don't believe in bringing religion into anything paranormal or any of that kind of thing. But what we're going to talk about tonight makes you wonder about what is actually going on and goes into some sort of dark histories and bits and pieces like that. So it's going to be...
Oscars all round.
Yeah, well, anybody involved with the Vatican, yes, they're all...
That's the thing they go when you, like, thinking it from a broader perspective, saying that you don't like to bring religion into the paranormal. Unfortunately, when you read the lovely storybooks that have been written, there is paranormal in there.
The entire book is like... And that's one of the first things that we are going to talk about, actually, is about the Bible itself, because... You've all seen, well, I'm assuming a lot of you have seen the Da Vinci Code and things like that, where they talk about the Council of Nicaea and the choosing what goes in and what goes out. But what you don't realise is that the Bible as we know it was totally rewritten in the 1600s. And in that, we know of 14 Gospels, or 14 books, as you would, that have been removed from it because they don't fit the Vatican's narrative on religion. So, you know...
Yeah, because they turn around and they say, oh, it was 16 different people have written this book over 2,000 years, and it's like, your math doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't. And the other thing you got to remember as well is that the Vatican isn't written by one person. It's a collection. It's basically a collection of storybooks. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean.
They talk about... You talk about the Gospel according to John, the Gospel according to such and such, this, that, and the other. All it is telling the same stories from different points of view, and obviously their sort of inflection on what it's all about. And as a result of that, again, what I always say is go to the source material, not go to the different tellings of the stories. When I talk about different religions, they all have their holy books, and they all talk about the same sort of disasters, about ancient civilizations, about floods, about this, about the angels, about the demons, about the jinn, all of that sort of thing. Go to the source material, and that's where you're going to get the most accurate, things about what it's all about.
Carl, buckle up your seatbelt, buddy.
Yeah.
Strap in.
Oh, don't talk about strap-ons or strap-ins when we're talking about them. No.
But it's funny actually you mentioned the saying about the stories written by different people and different perspectives. You're saying the differences and views, and you look at that whole, where was it? Where the flood, where all the this is not the Bible related, where all the wine, I think it was, where was it? Just recently, they had all that wine spill out.
Oh, that's a biblical proportion of things going wrong, that, isn't it? We lost the wine.
I just had a mental blank.
I don't know.
It was like the streets were literally flooded with wine. These days people are like, oh no, it's a huge severe accident, rah-de-rah-de-rah. Well, if the Bible was true, and back in his time would have been like, yes, there's wine.
Yeah, but you got to remember as well, are you talking red wine? Or are you talking...
Yes, red wine.
Because one of the stories about the Revelations and stuff like that is the rivers will turn red with blood. Who's not to say it's not wine that's just flooded through? or some sort of chemical
But,
or algae bloom.
but then you want to speculate on that sort of stuff. It says in Genesis, the end before the beginning, when the beginning was written, and then in Revelations it also says that the end was already predicted at the beginning.
And this is one of the things when you talk about religion, right? And then we go into one of my favourite old shows, which is Battlestar Galactica. And one of the first things that they say in the very first scene, at the very first episode, or, that mini-series, it goes, it has all happened before and it will all happen again. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. It's the same with religion on Earth. You've got the old civilizations, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, the Atlanteans, all of those different ones, all wiped out. And this is one of the things that they talk about that's been hidden away in the Bible. There are actual records of what they describe as what we would consider nuclear warfare. Now, we've talked about this before when we've talked about Atlantis and things like that, how they were at war with that other group. Can't remember the name of them now. But they talked about weapons of nuclear proportions, and even they reckon the walls of Babylon were destroyed by a weapon that created the heat so strong that it actually melted the walls down, basically.
Tartarians, the Tartanites.
No, that's not the ones that I'm talking about with the... not with the Atlantean War. The Atlantean War, the people there, the land was actually supposedly, one of the things says off Western Australia and the other one says off the east coast of Australia and out towards Hawaii. So yeah,
maybe that we're just living in a place that should have been deemed Atlantis, and that's why they say Australia is a fake place and they're all paid actors.
Well, we are an island nation. We are well away from everybody else.
Oh no, but it's the flat Earth. That's what it is.
Oh, the flat Earth's a completely different thing altogether. But
going back to the Vatican.
But yeah, mate, there are so many things that when you actually look into the Vatican and stuff like that, and like I said, we're going to go through some of them tonight. And if there's things that don't come up, you guys in the chat are obviously welcome to start talking about it. And
I'd prefer, the time delays are pain. Yes, we understand that, Carl, but there's not much we can do about it.
There's nothing we can do about that. It's anything live. There is always a time delay. So when you put things up, you just have to wait until we talk about it or when we bring it up, because we only see it when we see it.
It'd be nice if it was near and instantaneous, but...
Yeah, I've got it set. The delay lag is set to the minimum setting that we've got it set to, so we can't do anything better, unfortunately. So it is what it is. And I suppose some people will get it sooner than others as well, depending on where they are.
That's what I was going to say, and then it depends on your platforms, but we're sticking with this one. So
yeah, that's it. So yeah, so we start to talk about that now. The next big conspiracy, Vatican secret, is how many exorcisms do you think they have reportedly done over the years?
Well, that's the number that's been released to the public, or the number that's written down in the Vatican.
You tell me what you think that number is.
I wouldn't have a clue because it's probably changed several times.
Well, hang on, where's it? What's it? Yeah, the chief exorcist for the Vatican, who was doing it for over 60 years, in his time as chief exorcist, he alone was responsible for over 100,000 exorcisms.
So you think about it. How old is he? So how long was he doing it for?
Oh, he's gone now, but he was doing it for 60 odd years.
So 60 years. How long would an exorcist last? I guess an exorcism lasts for anywhere from 25 minutes to days.
They can go for months.
Weeks,
months. Some of them.
But that's what I mean. Like if you find an average and rough it out, that'll become close to 60 years worth of stuff, if not more.
Yeah. So that's why I think there's a film.
100,000.
Yeah, there's a film now called it's been out a few years, called The Rite. I think that's the one with Anthony Hopkins, who played the chief exorcist, and it's the one where now this is actual fact that there is basically an exorcist school at the Vatican where they send people across to train them up to be exorcists, and then they go out and perform the exorcisms. Now, that's not the same as those teams of people that go out to investigate the reports of miracles or demonic possession. They are just out there to find out what they think, if there is one. I know I did. But they're just out to try and find out if that's what the case is. And then from that point on, that's where the exorcists get called in, and it goes from there. But, you know, that's a lot of exorcisms. You know, you can't tell me that. Well, in fact, there's another number there that says 160,000. Closer to, you know, that's a massive number of people.
I mean, if you're in that position and you want to look great, we'll just bump it up a couple 20,000 and we'll say, yep, we did that many.
But you think, right, when we think exorcism, you're thinking about what you see in the movies like The Exorcist and all of those shows.
I actually haven't watched any of those.
Oh, well, you know, they're not all what they make them out to be. Like I said, you all know, I've actually been present for 3 exorcisms myself, where I've documented them for those involved.
Well, hang on. Well, that undisclosed place that we went to with a big bear and a little bear, was that? Could you not call that some sort of a exorcism as such?
No, an exorcism is when you're trying to get rid of the creature, or the spirit, or the demon. Okay. I've said it again. It's not it's not. You're thinking of a possession or a
sorry, I got that confused.
Or demonic oppression. Not, you know, that they're different to an exorcism. An exorcism is where an ordained priest, or in many cases, in many different religions, they have their different versions of what they are. They go out and they perform an exorcism to actually expel the demon or whatever it is. I'm gonna have to use it tonight just because of the nature of what we're talking about. Get them out of the person. And that's what the exorcism part actually is. That's not a haunting or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody's demonically possessed or they are. Yeah, I know. I'm going to say it.
Where's the button?
When they are possessed.
Well, that could. Oh, hang on. Was that demonic? Was that sexually? Was that?
See, it leaves things open, especially if I've got the little bleepy thing that comes up across your mouth.
Leaves it open. Oh
no. Yes, Carl, misrepresented is a definite thing.
It puts the lotion in the basket.
Oh no! Don't go there. Don't go there. But yeah, exorcisms. You know, like I said, I've been part of 3, and I've seen what happens. And
Gabriel North conducted over 60,000.
Yep.
Gabriel.
Yep. And
guessing Gabriel was a man.
Mm-hmm. It's the church. You've got to be careful what you say.
I couldn't, to be honest, the place that they, it doesn't bother me at all.
They all wear those big roby things.
Look, what colour are the robes?
It depends on what their role is.
White? Do they wear pointy hats as well?
Oh.
I'm pretty sure some of them do.
That goes back into the Da Vinci Code. They talk about that. That's a group of, yeah. But that's not... And this is the thing, with any religion, you're always going to have your extremist section. You know, Islam and whatever. They cop a lot of crap for all the stuff that goes on. But what you've got to remember, it's just a very small group that are actually the extremists that are doing the terrorism and all this, that, and the other. But you look at the church as well. You've got, well, who you were talking about, the KKK. And, I mean, they're not
a Christian group.
Yeah, they're not the church itself, but the church is definitely putting out stories that can be twisted.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to catch up with this chat. Pope's Exorcist is based off. Okay.
I have that. I haven't watched it yet. That's the one with Russell Crowe, I think.
Can I come over and watch that one with you?
Yeah.
Snuggle buddies?
If you want.
Oh.
I'll pull out the burger rings.
I'll bring Cheezels.
Great. Yeah, that's the one with Russell Crowe. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I've flicked through it a couple of minutes of it, and it actually does look pretty good from what I've seen. But the movie I was referring to earlier was The Rite. I think that's the one with Anthony Hopkins, which is based in fact, that one, although It's very interesting. But this leads into a completely different thing where you talk about different levels of possession as well, somebody who just swears a lot. In fact, Tourette's syndrome was misrepresented and misdiagnosed as a form of demonic possession at one point. And it's...
Well, let's be honest, this is probably not far off.
Well, and then again, when you talk about demonic possession opposed to like a clinical psychosis or I don't know what the correct words are, but somebody who might have mental issues, it's a very fine line to try and diagnose what's actually going on. And
paranoid schizophrenic.
Well, there are many times where people who are crazy get misrepresented, and then there are people that you go, no, you are definitely, it's not you, it's something else there. And again, mainstream
media and conditioning,
they don't know any different. So it's a lot of stuff will slip through the cracks like that. But
so who have we actually got in here? We've got Mark, we've got Fernando. That's a wicked name.
Yeah,
we've got Carl. But there's 6 people watching.
Yeah, I don't know who the other people are. They're not saying hello yet.
Guessing Christy, Jay, and all that will probably bump in when they're on.
Yeah, they'll pop in at some time, I would assume. But yeah, anyway, so we'll move on to the next one, which is interesting. It says here, the Vatican helped Nazi war criminals escape the Allied forces.
Got to be careful with that word on this platform.
But it's a question. Oh, it's a statement which is already out there. You know what I mean?
No, I was talking about the Vatican. All right.
The what?
I was talking about the word the Vatican now.
Well, this...
That's the thing. Like, how can a place of such high stature go, yeah, we stole a heap of German Nazi gold. We stole a heap of Nazi jewelry. Like, what...
And this has come from This has actually come from a Harvard researcher as well. Now, have you ever watched that show, Finding Hitler? I think that's what it's called anyway, something like that. And they've actually tracked him down, and they've got a lot of credible stuff to say that he didn't. When he left the bunker, they actually found tunnels that led to an airfield for him to get out, and they reckon he was then flown to Spain, where he jumped onto a U-boat, which took him across to Argentina. And they reckon there were sightings of him until the 1950s. It went quiet after the mid-1950s, but that's not to say he survived or he didn't survive. That's just to say that at that point in time, people definitely recognised him well after. Maybe he's a time traveller. Oh, again, this is all sorts of other stuff as well. You've got secret Nazi bases at the Antarctic, and then you've got others that talk about secret Nazi bases on the moon.
Yeah, and then you got the people that are talking about we are originally living on Mars and having nuclear explosions there. People got away to Earth.
Well, that's one of that is a theory that we were the original inhabitants of Mars, and war broke out to the point
chemical that was behind after nuclear warfare or explosions.
Yeah, and who's not to say that that's not where Atlantis was? You know what I mean? At that point in time, they do believe that from some of the chemical reactions and chemical bits and pieces and fossils that they found, that there was vegetation, there was an atmosphere, and there was water on Mars at one point in time.
And it kind of makes sense why NASA's like, oh, let's try and find life on Mars. Well, why are you trying to find life on Mars specifically?
Well, it's the closest planet to us, really.
Yeah, but they want to break boundaries. Let's go further. It's coming from an agency that turned around and said, oh, no, Pluto's not a planet anymore. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, it's just a gaseous blob. Whatever. And that goes into that thing about whether was that planet or a different planet? I can't remember where they were trying to land.
Planet X.
No, that's Nibiru. That's a different one. That's the 10th planet in the system, apparently. Although that number keeps changing when they change the designations from planets to whatever. You know, you can't keep up with it. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So,
Carl, have you got anything to input for this Vatican talk?
We're waiting now. Wait for the time delay and count to 30. No. But yeah.
On The Price is Right, you got the yodeler that goes up and up and up.
Yeah.
You need the music that goes like that with it. So when you ask someone a question, yodel.
Cool. But while we're talking about how they help Nazi criminals and what have you, it says here that the Vatican made money from the Holocaust. Now, part of the reason behind that, which is tied into what I was just talking about, is that they would help the Nazi criminals, or the Nazi war criminals, escape Europe, and they reckon that as a payment to help them get out, a lot of that loot that they stole from the Jews and things like that, they were given to the Vatican, which, it could help with their wealth and stuff like that. So as part of their wealth I know it's very controversial, and if there's any religious people that could cop some crap, potentially. Yeah, could have come from those sources. And based on how much art there is around there, you never know. You never know. It's interesting stuff. I don't know what you think. I don't know what you think about that.
I think Carl's falling asleep.
Oh no! It's got one here that says Vati Leaks, so it's like the equivalent of WikiLeaks, but it's all about the Vatican.
Julian Assange has joined the Vatican.
Oh, the book named His Holiness was released in 2012, which is based on the leaked secret papers of Pope Benedict. The private documents were leaked to by Benedict the 10th or the 16th. His own butler, big Italian name, Nuzzi.
Apparently, there's a ton of potential evidence.
About what?
Probably
about the war crimes and stuff. And this is the thing, for the Vatican, which is supposed to be the leader of mainstream religion, I guess, because it is arguably the biggest. I mean, I know Muslim outnumber Christians and stuff like that, but just on the wealth and everything, which again, that goes back to the Knights Templar and stuff, you know what I mean? Raiding and taking stuff, and then
so
ultimately led to the downfall of the Knights Templar when the church owned the Templar that much money, and France, King Philip, whatever, owed that much money to them that they ended up classifying them as heretics and had them all, Friday the 13th of October, 1307, when all that happened, which is where Friday the 13th came from, and from that point on, they didn't have to pay them back, and they kept all of that money. That was a good kickstart, and then obviously they learned then that if they play the game right, that they could grow their wealth. Now, if you, Carl, but Crusades, that's what we're talking about now, and what they say is if you go back through the ancient times, all the different popes, they all died young. So, who knows what they were involved with?
Lots of dodgy stuff.
Yeah.
They still are. I just had a quick look then to see if I could find something about the Nazi gold or the money from the Holocaust.
Yep.
From what I can find, the financial advisor to the Vatican was believed to have been one of Nazi spies. He's believed to have instituted a horrifying scheme that allowed the Vatican to invest money into Italian insurance companies that kept the assets from the life insurance plans of the murdered Jewish families. Since the Vatican was an investor and not a direct insurer, they did not need to return any of the money made using the scheme.
Oh, here we go. There's a few.
Dodgy brothers.
Well, this is one of the other things that comes up. Now, this is not in the little list that I've got in front of me, but they actually said that, those missing books that we talked about at the start, the missing Gospels from the Bible?
Yes.
In those, they portrayed Jesus as just a normal person. He was obviously married to Mary Magdalene. They had kids. And again, Dan Brown, and that's what they all go into in the Da Vinci Code and stuff. But these books being specifically taken away, and apparently Jesus' name was spelt differently to whatever I know it's spelt slightly different Anyway, but it's a completely different name, and they dropped it to suit what they want, because they didn't want a normal everyday person being the figure point of their entire religion. They had to make him mythic and godlike, and that's why they dropped a lot of those stories, so that he became a result of an immaculate conception. And we all know in this day and age that immaculate conceptions don't happen. It's just there's a lot of conjecture.
Mark, you're more than welcome. We like discussing these topics. There's something different, not something everyone's talking about at the minute.
No, not yet anyway.
Fernando goes, Josh Gates has an episode of the Travel Channel and how they found Nazi tunnels which might contain potential Nazi gold.
Yeah.
Can we go?
And this is one of the things that we talk about with the Nazis and everything. That, I mean, a lot of Operation Paperclip is where they brought a lot of the Nazi rocket scientists and stuff over to America under secret names and stuff, so that they could work on the space program in America. Now, some of the engineers that they had were absolutely astounding. If you saw the size of some of those tunnels that they found under the streets of Berlin and other parts of Germany, you could haul a bloody jumbo jet through some of them. They were that big. And just the sheer, without support, the sheer size, even back then, of having to build these arch-like tunnels so that you've got the keystone at the top that holds the whole lot from caving in. They had some really good engineers, and it would make sense that they would want them out and doing stuff for the other world rather than just knocking them all off.
So it also states here that the Vatican received church tax from Hitler every year.
There you go. There you go.
Church tax, really.
And it got, there's a lot of scandals about the Vatican Bank as well, and
who are the real terrorists?
The Pontifical Guard and the Swiss Guard and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the IOR, the Vatican Bank Institute for the Works of Religion.
And also, in the year 897 AD, do you know that the Vatican, the Church, put a dead man on trial?
That's how delusional they are.
They actually had his body up in the dock, and they were going off at it. And he couldn't fight back. He couldn't argue his case. And is that just a sign of what they are? It's our way, and there's no conversation entered into. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, but the guy was already dead for 7 months before this.
Yeah.
Let's just dig up his grave. Can you imagine that?
What's the point in it, though? That's what I'm saying.
When the bikie got shot at Kwinana Motorplex, imagine now, we'll dig him up, we'll put him on trial.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't happen.
Just a family, what I mean?
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying is, why would an organization as big as the Vatican, the Church, whatever you want to refer to them as, put somebody on trial who's already been dead for that long? Because what are they going to gain from it? And that's the question that you have to think about. To go to all the trouble of actually putting somebody on trial who's already dead, and they can't punish him, he's gone.
Gary, there's got to be just a dead man.
No, but this is what I'm saying. That they've got to make. There's got to be something that they're making from it. You know what I mean?
The dead person was a pope.
And why do you put a dead pope on the stand?
That's what the person was. He was a dead pope.
Mm-hmm.
A deacon was even appointed to speak on the dead pope's behalf.
Yeah, but but you can say whatever you want. There's no argument going to be entered into, is there?
His acts as pope were declared null and void. His body was stripped of the garments and dressed in rags. His 3 fingers of benediction were cut off, and his body was cast into the river Tiber, where the ancient Rome disposed of their infamous criminals for centuries.
Yeah. There's one here that says Jesus did not exist, and there are actual, supposedly, reports that say that in the hidden, the hidden archives and everything underneath.
Archives. It's just ridiculous. How
Emperor Nero and St. Paul, spoke about the existence of Jesus, and they couldn't prove it one way or the other. But then they talk about in the next one how Jesus was just a normal person. It sounds like they've taken all the best bits, put them together, and let's make him godlike to, make him walk on water and turn water into wine, and all this sort of stuff. Like you said, the book is full of paranormal stories and stuff like. In fact,
I'm sorry, but when does a snake talk to people? When does a burning bush tell you to kill your own son?
Yeah, and you think about it as well. There is more evidence in the holy books of religion about the existence of extraterrestrial life
than there is
from NASA. There is. And I mean, you talk about Moses going up to the top of the Mount Sinai, I think it was, and spoke to God, and he came down with the 10 Commandments on the 2 tablets.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's the thing, though, Gary. You think about it. What is God?
God.
No one can answer that. What is God? No, it's not a being.
The only way we don't know that. You know what I mean?
No, but you can't answer it.
Where did the name come from? The very term God is a man-made construct. It's
exactly.
And like I said, the church, they can write their own book on it, you know, and that's what they are basically.
You know, all it comes down to is religion is a great way to control people, and the government's God.
I'll tell you what, we're staying pretty consistent tonight. We've been on 6 watches all the way through.
That's good.
We haven't peaked at 12 like what we did a couple of weeks ago. So
I was actually waiting for you to bring up about the evidence of extraterrestrial life in the Vatican.
Yeah.
And it just put a smile on my face because you might as well call it Area 57.
No, you call it Area 1.
Yeah, well, it's supposed that they've actually got skulls.
Yeah. And they're big elongated skulls and stuff.
Moses was selling the shit, goes up the hill and comes back a prophet. No, he made a prophet, Mark.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you talk about religious artifacts and extraterrestrials. They talk about the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the idea behind that is, or the stories behind that is, if you held that in an army when you went to war, you took it to the front and opened it, whoever lay before you just got wiped out in a blaze of heat and bright light. Now, that sounds like some sort of nuclear meltdown kind of thing. And
so, Carl, would you like an honest answer to that question? And as for your deep underground military bases, yeah, there is a lot. There's even a few here.
Mm-hmm.
More than a few.
And Jay he actually started to talk about a couple in one episode. We go, woof, shush. He don't want to go any further. That he personally knows about.
So apparently the archives in the Vatican contain proof that the Pope is conspiring with extraterrestrial beings to implant everyone on Earth with computer chips.
See, that one sounds just a bit silly, but I do believe that the potential is. I mean, okay, here we go. Here's the big one for the night.
So just 2 seconds before you get into that one.
Yep.
Yes, Carl. You want an honest answer? There is no God. There's no such thing. There's many worshipped, but there's nothing. There might be a higher power out there. I wouldn't call it a God. But
and that is where reality breaks from religion.
Look, to be honest, Carl, I believe in the flying spaghetti monster more than I believe in God and Jesus.
And this is one of the things that I can guarantee you 100% that Jesus existed way back then. But the reason I say that is because apparently the name Jesus was very common. So there was guaranteed to be many, 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 many millions or hundreds of thousands of Jesuses around. I'm not talking about the one who was born in a little manger in a stable and, you know, the 3 men came to see him, throw shit at him, and they followed the star and all that stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the reality of it all, you know.
Oh, I'm guaranteeing it was someone's stories, but they've hyped it up. Hey, let's get some more readers out here.
And there you go, right? Everybody knows, especially at Christmas time when they talk about the 3 wise men that followed the North Star across the sky to where Jesus was born. Well, look, in our day and age, if you're following a star across the sky, it's either a satellite or it's a something else, because there weren't satellites back then, not that I know of.
It's not the satellite, damn it. Like, Carl, I am a part. Ask Gary. We've been on many places to do things, and actually, where was it? We're having dinner.
Oh, mate, have you seen what Carl's just written?
Yes, I did. And yes, I am. And that night, we're sitting at the dinner table, and I'm telling you all these things, and you guys are losing it laughing.
Yeah, I know, I remember.
Hey, if I want to get a picture taken with a colander on my head, I will.
You have that right. Yes, you do.
But I forgot what I was going to say now. It was actually to do with the topic.
He's forgotten that because he's talking about the Pastafarians. Oh, holy man.
No, he's not Jamaican, not Rastafarian.
What the hell? Right?
Oh, what was I saying?
Stop making me laugh, man. This light makes me look like I'm going bloody tomato-y like. And I've already got a big fat round head, so...
You know, like... I've really lost that choo-choo train of thought.
No, okay, well, we'll talk about another one until we go back. Do you know that the Vatican has the largest collection on the planet of pornography? I think everybody knows that.
What? You might have to press the censor button here, so I'll try and... What sort of pornography are you talking about? Adult pornography or... Yes, that one.
Yes.
And obviously, I was talking about... No, I wasn't.
It's all right. It's all right. I'll bleep that one. So, but yeah, it is down, and I don't know. Do they study it for some reason? We have to study it to understand it. So.
Musa erotica confirms the speculations. Oh, hang on, I'm missing something here. Cummings Museum of Erotica confirms the speculations in addition to writing by National Review founder William Buckley Jr. Yeah, that's. There's something. It's like, it says, I don't get that the way it's written. It says some conspiracy theorists believe the Vatican archives contain a large collection of pornography in the world.
I think we've upset somebody. Somebody's dropped off.
That's all right. Probably talk about Jesus and they didn't like it. But that's not my problem. We're all allowed to listen to fairy tales and have invisible friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Pedal fillers.
Oh, God. Yeah. So, what do you know about the 3 secrets of Fatima?
Next.
You know about the three girls that went up the hill and they had the vision of the Virgin Mary, and then they had several visions of her. This was back in the 1916, 1917, somewhere around there, and it happened several times over the next, I think, 12 months, something like that. And one of the girls actually said that they were shown 3 secrets that would be prophecies, and they talked about, I can't remember all of them, but one of them was about World War I and World War II, and the third one was about, well, the third one they wouldn't actually say, but after being put under pressure to let the church know what it was all about, they actually the last, I think it's the last lady that was still alive, wrote the secret, because she became a nun, wrote the secret in an envelope on the strict instruction that it wouldn't be opened until 1960. And apparently they did that, and that talked about the downfall, I think from memory, the downfall of the church and the downfall of basically mankind. You know, I'm talking about the moral downfall, you know, basically what's happening now. And, you know, there's not many morals out there's not much respect and all that sort of thing. And that's basically what she was describing. And everything that she did. Now, remember, in 1916, 1917, that was just before the First World War anyway. So you could potentially write that one off as they saw it coming. But the Second World War, no. And then about what's happening now, you know, who knows? But again, because she wrote it in an envelope and was told not to open it, they were told not to open it until 1960. Who's to say that what got presented is exactly what she wrote? And it was rewritten to coincide with their belief.
You mean you have trust issues of large corporations and governments as well?
Yeah, you know that.
Good.
You know that. Which leads to what I was talking about before, and what you were talking about, which may kickstart what you were thinking about, and that is that, you know how everybody believes the Pope is the spiritual leader of the church, and what the Pope says with his group of cardinals goes in relation to, you know, Catholicism and stuff like that. But do you know that it is believed that the church is controlled by the Illuminati? which ties into everything else. Now, you talk about, as I've said to you before, it is believed that a lot of the world governments are run by the New World Order, the secret world order, the Illuminati, and they're not countries anymore. They're basically corporations. And in all honesty, that's exactly the same as what the church is. The church is not a religious icon for people around the world. It is a corporation because it's about making money. Now, if you go back into some of these original stories that were knocked out of the Bible, and how they made Jesus appear to be just human and stuff like that.
That's not a bad point there.
One of the things that they said is that supposedly Jesus said that to worship God, so long as you feel it in your heart, and this is something that Father Barry May said to me once before, he goes, if it's in your heart, he goes, that's all that we want. But that's not good enough for the church because they can't make money from that. So that's why you have to go to a place of worship, and that's where these churches came up from. So if you want to get close to God, you've got to go to the house of the Lord, which is a church, and you have to do your donation plates and things like that. And that's where money comes from.
All respect to Father Barry May, but that doesn't work in all cases. Imagine me driving my car down, I run over 35 people, but in my heart, I was good here.
No, he's not talking. Yeah, I know what you're saying there, but no, this was before we went in. We called him in for a case, and he asked us if we believed in God, and I said, no, not really. And he said, do you believe in a power of good, and do you believe in a power of evil? You know, things that will make you do good things or things that will make you do bad things, or knowing what's good and knowing what's wrong. And I said, yeah. He goes, well, everything that I believe that power gives you the power of good and stuff like that. He goes, I call God, and everything that goes the other way, he calls the devil. He goes, it doesn't matter what you want to call it, so long as you can differentiate between the good and the bad. He goes, it's the same thing. And he got a lot of respect from me for that, because I thought, yeah, that's the way.
15 second delay, apparently.
Okay, somebody's counting it out.
Yeah, Fernando.
Which sounds about right. It used to be a 30-second delay, but we have got it down to 15.
I'll tell you what, we must be very, very interesting if he's counting seconds by. I think I just dislocated my shoulder, throwing it in the air like a schoolboy wanting to answer a question. Oh,
well, put it up there.
Look, Fernando, this gets recorded, so when you come on for your phone call, just say, state where you are, who you are, and that it'll be on the internet forever. But you have a point there. That's a good point, saying you believe it. It makes sense. Things tie in way too well for them not to be the Illuminati.
Yeah. While we're actually talking about that, are you ready to come on, Fernando? Hang on, I was almost going to play some music then. I'm assuming that's a yes. If you want to, I'll give you a call.
One big thing with that Vatican and the conspiracies behind it, one of my personal favorites, is that they have a time machine.
That goes into what we were talking about before. I got the name of it wrong. I called it the coronagraph. It's not actually called the coronagraph. It's called the coronavisor. Yeah.
Not to be confused with coronavirus.
No.
But that makes a lot of sense. Like, you think about it. If they've got a time machine, they can still be going back and getting Nazi gold and artifacts.
Yeah. All right. If strangers might, are you ready on Messenger chat, Fernando?
That's a good question. Do we get him? Oh no, it won't, because it will throw.
Yeah, it'll throw everything out at the moment. We'll bring him in. We'll bring him in through Messenger. Let me know if you're ready, and I'll call you, mate. And then we'll actually arrange in the next week or two to actually get you on. Actually, on live.
Government leaders are only puppets. They're like not even an acting manager of a company.
I'm calling him now.
That's all right. Man, I want a time machine.
Let's see if he's ready.
Gary, we could get tickets to the Vatican.
Tickets to the Vatican.
I think, to be honest, the place would burn up if I set foot there.
Are you there, mate? No, it doesn't appear to have worked.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, good, good.
How are
Can we
you?
turn him up just a little bit?
I'm doing good. Hold on one second. I'm just trying to figure all of this stuff.
Oh, there's weird ringing noises going. See if you can get a bit closer to your video as well. Your video, your microphone. You're only on audio. You're not on video.
Oh, okay.
So what we'll do is we'll arrange to bring you on maybe next Friday night if you want to come on video. I can arrange that.
Oh, I mean, that's perfect.
Cool. Sounds good. So what are your thoughts on the Illuminati and religion?
I feel like I might be in danger.
Oh, come on, you've seen what we've been talking about tonight. We're all in it.
No, although I have seen the Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons.
Yep.
Great movies, and it raises a lot of questions.
Yes, definitely.
So I do believe they have a hand in pretty much
Everything
that has to do with how things run.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say there for a sec.
Oh.
You right? Or are you having technical difficulties?
I am trying to figure out how to take out this, I'm hearing like some backlash.
Some feedback kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you listening to it live on another device? Because you might have to turn that down if that's what's happening.
Actually, I muted the live so I could talk to you guys better. I think I'm trying to figure this out. But hello, do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, mate.
Okay, well, I'm working things out as we speak, so you guys could continue.
Perfect.
You're coming through clear enough.
Oh, perfect. So I'm gonna leave it just like this.
Just leave it like that and talk away, mate.
All right. My apologies. So what was the question about the Vatican?
We were talking about the Illuminati and what they have a hand in controlling.
Oh yeah. No, I mean that's pretty much it as far as how even Hollywood. I feel like there's this high society. The rich people per se. I think they all have a part of that.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. It's funny when you talk about the Illuminati and stuff like that because everybody says they're a secret organization, a secret society.
Not much of a secret.
But they're not much of a secret. And apparently, if you look at the history of the Illuminati, they disappeared in the 1800s or something like that. That's when before that, they officially existed and then they disappeared. But that just tells me that they've changed their name or they've actually decided to make it secret and their visible side has disappeared.
But that's just like the similar thing to the Freemasons.
Well, Freemasons are out and about, and they reckon they are tied into that as well.
Yeah, but they were a secret society back when I was growing up. Nobody spoke of it.
Are you guys familiar with the MCU, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yep.
All right.
Not personally.
So, what are your opinion on thinking that the Illuminati is more like what's the other group against the agents?
Spectre.
That they infiltrated.
Not Spectre. That's James Bond. Oh God, what do they call them? The bad guys. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Can't for the life of me remember what the organization is called now. The got that big octopus thing.
The Red Skull guy is the leader.
Hey?
The Red Skull guy was the leader.
Yeah. Yeah, I
anyway,
wouldn't. Well, a lot of that they go into as well about being tied into the Germans and looking for religious artifacts and things like that of power, which ties into what the Nazis actually did.
See, Gary,
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
watched this, and this just sounds like conditioning via Hollywood.
And that's where I was about to say a lot of this would be leading is the very fact that they're including these in movies is conditioning people for when something is going to happen down the track. They get them to a point. I actually heard on TV the other day, they reckon petrol here is going to hit $3 a litre. And there's no...
Barrels of oil is supposed to jump $100 to $200 a barrel.
Where's the reckoning behind that? You know, I remember when it went up when the Ukraine war started, and you go, okay, there's a bit of unrest in the world, then it's going to go up. But what is causing this massive jump from $1.80 a litre to $3 a litre? Which is still a lot compared to what they pay. What, you know, in America, they're still paying a lot less than that. I think
they're paying less than what we are. So I worked it out actually because I was talking to some friends in the US. It worked out that we're paying like $8 US to the gallon.
Yeah, and they're on about $4 something.
They're about $5 to $6 a gallon.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts.
Oh, that's nothing compared to England. If you go to England, you're paying nearly £2 a litre or something like that, and that's double what we... So they're over $10 US.
£2 a litre, that's $4 Australian.
Yeah.
Roughly. So that's about $2.80 American a litre.
Yeah, and you times that by 4 or whatever it is.
4.3.
Yeah, so
4.7, sorry.
Yeah, so
I'll just go 5, it's easier.
Yeah, so it's over $10 a barrel. $10 a gallon.
Oh my God, that hurts.
Oh yeah, and you think about who's controlling all of that sort of thing. Now, one of the things, yeah, and this is one of the things I remember last week.
United Nations.
Yeah, you know, I was talking last week about that guy that had the invention where you could run a car from 0 point energy, where it just drew energy straight out, so you didn't need batteries or anything like that. Now, apparently, I did a bit of research on that, and that car was capable of 400 horsepower, just pulling energy straight out of the air. So they said what you do, you could get a Tesla, you could retrofit it, and then you would never have to charge your car because just sitting outside, it's drawing in energy just from the air around, which ties back to Nikola Tesla and the Tesla coil and things like that. Now, the guy,
free energy.
No, but the guy that invented this, remember how I told you how he was killed when he was run over by a car, but on the same day there was about 5 or 6 other people with the exact same name killed. So that makes it well beyond the realm of it just being an accident. There was obviously something a little bit more deliberate to it. But what they were saying is that that's because he tried to keep his, and this goes back to, what's his name? Steve Greer and everybody like that. He said that the reason why he was killed off is because he tried to keep it for himself and patent it himself. And obviously anything that goes to the patent office ends up going through the government, and they do their pick and choose of what they want and stuff like that. Now, what Stephen Greer's done, he started up this disclosure project and what have you, and he said anybody that has an invention like that, if they can put it out to the masses through this disclosure project, there's that many people know about it that they're almost guaranteeing their protection, because if anything is to happen after that...
Yeah, it just looks too suspicious.
Yeah, and it was just funny how that came up in my feed after what we were talking about. It was last week or the week before, I can't remember which, but yeah, again, that...
Actually, I believe that there were 2 inventors that created a way that they could use water to replace gasoline.
Yep, hydrogen powered cars.
Hydrogen, yes, and that's actually still being done today. People are still making their own home kits. I think it's a big thing in the US at the moment, or has been for the last couple of years.
Well, whoever's out there trying to invent, they got to be careful, because I've read that there's at least 2 people who tried to bring it out with patents, and they were mysteriously found dead. One of them, I believe, is Stanley Meyer.
Meyer,
yes.
Yeah. Are you still talking? Because it's no, it just came up with OBS is disconnected and it's just reconnected. So I don't know if you guys can still hear everything going on. Hopefully, it still says it's recording, so that might have been a bit of a glitch there.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, there's a conspiracy for you, Carl. while we're talking about this stuff and how governments are doing their thing and religion. We just got glitched.
They're trying to cut it off.
At the end of the day, if the government wanted to grab that idea about pulling electricity from the air, they would can it, throw it in the bin straight away.
No, they would keep it for when the time is right to release it, and they can make the money out of it. I don't know how you can do it.
They wouldn't. They wouldn't, because that leaves freedom to people.
Yeah, but
why would you not push petrol prices up, make everyone buy electric, control the electricity grid, and then you'd be in a bad place.
Let me finish. What they will do is they will, while the technology is going to be there, they will find a way of metering the energy that is sucked in from the air, and you will have to pay that as part of your taxes.
Well, they've already got the ULEZ cameras in the UK.
Yeah, they'll find a way. It doesn't matter what. I'm surprised we haven't been taxed for breathing.
Oh, we do.
You know, I said a comment like that not so long ago. With the prices going high so much, I'm like, one of these days we're gonna be charged to breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's called life insurance.
Now, all right, we'll get back onto we're going to jump away from the Illuminati now. We're going to go back to the Vatican. And we mentioned the coronavisor. Now, I don't know if anybody knows about that, but it is this machine that apparently can pinpoint specific times in Earth's history, right?
Don't scare Gary.
What's that?
Don't scare Gary.
Oh, very possibly, because, there's nobody in this room, but you know what's been going on with the renovations that we're doing. And I'll tell you something, right? Last night, my son was out, Jake was out. It was me in the house on my own. The dogs were out the back, and I heard the doors, the boys' doors in their bedrooms going. Now I'm talking about you heard the and then the opening, and you could hear the of the doors sliding on the carpet. Now, Matt's, you've actually forcibly pushed it, so that's not just wind blowing. And that happened twice last night. So, yeah, there is weird stuff going, but if something did happen behind there, I don't know. It's very possible.
So, with the coronavisor.
Yeah.
Coronavisor.
Not coronavirus, the coronavisor.
Yes, the coronavisor. It's the hat of the virus. It says that, where is it? About the novel about the time machine in 1895 when it was written, but there was also Father Francis Brunet's work in 2002, Le Nouveau Mysteries du Vatican, which he goes in to talk about the basic forgotten time travel device called the coronavirus back to the public eye.
Coronavirus.
Coronavisor.
Yeah.
He himself had learned of the device in the 1960s.
Yeah. And then the next thing I've heard after, because they apparently watched that, and it like projects. I don't know if it's onto a TV screen or whether it's onto a wall. From the visual I've got, it's projected on one of those little sort of round TV kind of things. But they reckon they watched the crucifixion. Now I don't know how they can actually do that, because you think about it, okay? If you're talking about relative time and dimension in space, the TARDIS type stuff, you're talking about, if you want to watch the crucifixion, right? You have to take into account from the point you're watching it to the target point, you've got to take into account the rotation of the Earth. You've got to take into account the rotation of the Earth around the sun. You've got to take into account the rotation of our solar system around the galaxy. You've got to take into account the rotation of our galaxy. You've got to add all these things together to pinpoint a specific little hill where these three crosses were put. That's a hell of a lot of math to work out, assuming it was even possible.
See, this doesn't make sense, because it says that Brune had learned of the machine in the early 1960s. When it says that researchers found that the first mentions of the chronovisor was in 1972.
Yeah, but there's a difference between learning about it through
And it was
through association and between it becoming like a publicly known.
Yeah, because it was published in Intelli magazine entitled "A Machine That Photographs the Past Has Finally Been Invented."
Yeah. Now, if you actually look, if you go looking, and all you people I know who are watching, which is still 5 of you, we've lost a couple more people now, but if you look up the coronavirus, not coronavirus images, there are, I think, 3 or 4 images that come up as being reported to have come from the coronavirus itself. They've been able to debunk each and every one of them. Like, one of the photos was supposed to be of the Christ in the crucifixion himself, but they've actually proven that it was a photo of a statue in a church or something like that in South America somewhere. And when they showed you the two side by side, it's very hard to say that it's anything but exactly a photo of that.
Yeah, but you look at other photos, and they look like old grandfather clocks that have been tampered with to make look spooky.
Yeah, yeah. And then the next one is the Vatican is the home of a secret time machine.
That's the coronavirus.
That's not technically... Yeah, that's what they're saying.
It's not technically a time machine.
It's not a time machine because it
gives you the ability to see and hear. That's
it.
Yeah,
you are not traveling.
So realistically, they found a TV and were watching Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot Fernando was here. Sorry, Fernando. Wow, am I rude or what?
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
You guys are good.
He's just been so quiet.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I'm just listening right now to what you guys are saying about the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a little far-fetched.
Oh, it's more than a little, but it's documented as well.
Yeah, but if anybody was to have this device, it would definitely be the Illuminati.
The Americans?
No, it would definitely... Well, the Illuminati... the Illuminati are well above any sort of country. I reckon they've got their fingers in everything.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right.
Sure.
Let's now talk about the secret Vatican archives. Now, if you've watched Angels and Demons, which is the second of the Dan Brown films, you'll see that what's his name, Tom Hanks' character, actually goes down into the archives. Now, what I can say is I know a person that has actually been into those archives, and she used to work on a team for the Vatican that used to go out investigating these claims for whether they needed to be looked at as miracles or whether there were cases of demonic possession or whatever you want to call it. Now, yeah, and
you apply for a job like that, I would love to.
No, she's a lovely lady, and she was. I don't know how it happened. She doesn't go into a lot of that, but she's told us some of the stuff. Now, it's nowhere near as pretty as what you see in Angels and Demons with these big vacuum sealed chambers and stuff, like the glass chambers and stuff, but it has got the over 80 kilometers worth of shelving. Now, I'm not talking about 80 kilometer tunnels, but I'm talking about shelves on top of shelves and rooms and stuff like that. If you add it all together, there's over 80 kilometers of shelving of secret documents and things like that. Have you heard about some of the stuff that's in there?
So sorry, I'll make that easy for Fernando. It's about 49 miles.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Books, scrolls,
everything you can think of.
Wow, Nazi gold.
Now, to give you an idea, right? The minutes of the trials of the Knights Templar are all there. So the whole documentation of how they were called heretics and who was involved, all of that, and all down to the order of them all being captured on the 7th of October 1307. That's all documented. There's letters from Mary, Queen of Scots, before she was, before she died, addressed to the Pope. What do we go? The Catholic Church's excommunication of Martin Luther. So there's that one. Notes from the trial against Galileo. Galileo Figaro. Henry
Yeah, we
the
need help.
Henry VIII's request for an annulment from the wife of Catherine of Aragon. So there's some interesting stuff in there, you know. Letters from here we go. Letters from Michelangelo. Now you could end up leading towards Da Vinci and stuff like that, and then that ties right into Dan Brown's the Da Vinci Code and how there's this whole conspiracy between the church and everything to cover up the truth. So there's some interesting stuff.
You mean like stuff that's sort of happening now?
I mean, I'm just going through articles and pictures of everything that's in the Vatican archives.
Yep.
And it's amazing. Like, I wish when I was back in school, somebody told me how interesting history really is.
Oh no, it is good.
Doing a lot better today.
To give you an idea, right? Where I grew up in England, the town that I grew up in was in the Domesday Book, which is the book that when William the Conqueror overthrew the English in the Battle of Hastings and all of that in 1066, he sent out his men to write down the names of all of the towns in the United Kingdom, how many people were there, and from that calculated how much taxes they had to send. So it was basically the first tax book, and it was called the Domesday Book. The town that I grew up in was around then in 1066, and the reports of it as far back as the year 700 existing as it is now. So, well, not as it is now, but by a name. It was originally a Viking settlement, the town I grew up in, and the history of that compared to the history of, like, WA is only just over 200 years old, but when you go back, the history is so rich, and amongst that there are so many things that are hidden, or if they haven't been documented correctly they can change, and that leads to conspiracy theories about certain things being hidden or written out of history and stuff like that. So that's why the term alternate history came about. It's not necessarily an alternate history, it's an alternate telling of the bits that may have been written out of mainstream history, and I can guarantee you there's a hell of a lot of that going on.
It's like I said to you earlier, though. It's the victor writes history.
Yeah, exactly. And
so, in other words, that conspiracies gets created due to possible workers within the Vatican archives just letting information slip.
Well, that has happened. That has happened.
That's interesting.
And what the other thing you have to think about as well is sometimes the church cannot release certain information because it would be deemed to be held in contempt of some sort of law somewhere. But if they, what's the word for it? If they are able to strategically have some information get leaked by certain sources, it takes the pressure off them because it comes out from a third party. And again, a lot of these leaks and what have you, you know, are interesting. And I mean, you go to Area 51 and you talk about Bob Lazar and how he came out. Now, he came out, I believe, legitimately, because he's never tried to make any money from it, and if anything, it sort of ruined his life and his reputation a lot. But there are other people that can cash in on some things that they release, and it makes you wonder where they got the information from and how they were allowed to actually release it. So I definitely believe certain releases of information have been strategically placed to create some kind of a public hysteria or whatever the case may be, and which comes back to the media and about what the media is allowed and not allowed to release and how they go about doing it. I do believe they're all tied in, yeah.
Do you think that with the recent publication that aliens are are real, do you think it's to cover something up?
What was that?
I think it's a distraction.
What did you say again? Sorry, I didn't hear that. To me, I heard, are Indians real?
No. I said, due to you bringing up Area 51, and we're talking about conspiracy and the Vatican's, do you believe that with the recent publication that aliens exist now?
I 100% know it. I 100% know it. You don't have to know. It is, well, one, I personally 100% know they are, but mathematically speaking, you cannot discount the fact that we are the only planet, as I said, not only in our solar system, in our galaxy, in our universe, we cannot be the only rock with the conditions to support life. As we hang on, with the very specific term, as we know it. Now, when you talk, you watch satellites and what have you, right? Not satellites. You talk about scientists, how they talk about they've found another planet which is capable of supporting life, and so that to them proves that the possibility of life is there. What they are doing is they are looking for exoplanets that have the same conditions as what we have. They might be the same distance, relative distance from their star. They have the ability to form an atmosphere. They have the ability to have water and things like that. And as a result of that, they have the potential to support life as we know it. The key word there is as we know it. Okay? Mm-hmm. Because I can guarantee you there are life, alien species out there that are not as we know it to be. We're a carbon-based animal. Not all. I mean, you look at Twilight; they're crystalline-based vampires, But all I'm saying is,
that's all we are. We're matter.
All I'm saying.
Do you believe that they publicized everything to cover something big?
Yeah.
To get us distracted.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's the biggest magic show on earth. It's like they say, look here to see what's going on. The real thing's happening over there somewhere.
Oh yeah. We are definitely on the same page, guys.
Yep.
I think a lot of people, after the whole COVID stuff, are on that same page now.
The what?
They x-rayed them and found eggs.
What?
Those Mexican aliens. I don't know about this. No, I haven't heard about that one.
Oh, it's about those small little ones that they'd found. They're like no bigger than 3 feet tall.
Oh, from Mexico.
Oh, when he was talking about eggs, I was picturing Dan Aykroyd in that Coneheads film.
But like you look at it, you're saying about the Vatican having all these documentations of all this stuff. What if it was like with the CIA and the government release when they say the Freedom of Information Act? You just open up a book or a scroll, just redacted,
just a big black page of big black markers and stuff. Yeah. Now you got to remember, right? That they all say that they are all publicly run divisions, even though they may be a secret organisation, NSA, whatever letter organisation you want to talk about. They are all supposed to be working for the public. But they don't. They think we're that thick as shit. Sorry, that they can't release the information because it might scare us. Well, you work for us. Maybe we're in Australia, so we have ASIO and stuff like that. We don't have NSA and all that sort of stuff. But same principles apply across the world, no matter what the agency may be called. They work for the betterment of the government, of the people of the world. And they should be releasing this information. I can understand, like, when they talk about the technology side of things and what have you. They say they've got crashed UFOs at Area 51, Area S4, wherever they may be. They'll say wherever they may be. And there is no national security reason why they can't say that we do have captured or alien spacecraft. Yeah, if they are reverse engineering it, they don't necessarily have to tell us the ins and outs of it, but they can tell us that they do exist.
But not just that, like, look how many people have died reverse engineering.
Yeah, well,
UAPs.
They're working on things that they just don't understand.
I think the most recent one was 19 people that were killed in the last one they're looking at.
Yeah, and you look at a lot of the signs that are out there. I'm not going to go into it, but if you look up some of the, it's one of the main airports, and they talk about some of the secret bases that are actually underneath. Because where's the best place to put a secret base? It's right underneath. It's right underneath an airport because the planes are landing on there. It's already it's already off limits to the public, even though the public are around the skirting of it and stuff like that. What's going on underneath? You know what I mean? And they reckon there are bases out there under some of the. I think Dallas Airport is one of the ones they talked about. That could be as much as 50 stories underground.
Jesus, that's like hiding in plain sight.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly that.
Mm.
But that comes back to the same thing I was speaking to you not long ago about the proving grounds, Area 52.
Yeah.
This restricted area, planes in and out, testing out weapons for war. You know, like, and you've got random ports of entrance to go into bunkers.
Yeah.
And who was the guy you mentioned? I've had a mental blank. The guy that you mentioned previously about. Pardon?
Yes, Mark's just written Calamundo. There's some dodgy shit that happens out there as well. Yeah.
The guy that was helping with Area 51, I've forgotten his name.
Bob Lazar.
No, not Lazar. The other one you mentioned earlier.
Not Steve Greer.
Steve Greer. He actually speaks about being inside Area 52.
Yeah.
And what they had there, and he reckons it was like 50 times the size of Area 51's research areas underground.
All right, I've got a little bit of homework for everybody that's listening in, which is all 5 of you. Check out the Alaska Triangle. You type that out.
Watching that a couple of days ago.
Look up Mount Hayes, Alaska, and the weird stuff that happens out there. They remote viewers identify, Project Stargate, which is the American remote viewing program. They actually identified Mount Hayes as the location of a joint American and extraterrestrial base. Very similar sounding to S4, where they have massive hangar bay doors built into the side of the mountain. And because if you look up Mount Hayes and how far away it is, you literally cannot drive in there. The only way you can get in there is by one of those little Canadian bush planes and land on the ice. And that is why it is so secretive. They reckon that's where a lot of the top technology stuff happens for extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional alien non-human entities do their work.
Now that you're speaking about that, I was actually watching a segment today from a podcast where a guy was actually talking about what clearances he had for certain projects, and they had people there. And he said they were putting these devices in the snow or in the ice so far down by so far in, and the sizes were a specific size, and they were supposed to be listening devices. And the area was supposed to be used for a telescope or something to that effect. And he had turned around and said that they'd actually found out that we weren't only capable of just listening, they were also capable of putting out things as well.
Transmitting stuff.
Transmitting.
Yeah.
He also claims that they were the same devices that were used to have to create the earthquakes in Christchurch. And he named off a few other bits and pieces as well.
That goes
I actually heard about that too.
Yeah. Have you heard about the Alaska Triangle?
Yes, I have. I didn't really do like a lot of research on it, but there is a television show about it. And some stuff that I heard is that there's a lot of similarities between the effects of this area to like our vehicles, as far as planes, cars, shutting down and all this. There has been like thousands of people missing in this area.
Yep.
So it's interesting that you bring up that this might be like a location where I guess aliens are doing their thing, let's just say.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's something
So
else just to throw to it, right? You know about the Bermuda Triangle and how it's
I was just
underwater.
about to mention it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they say that they found evidence that there is a giant pyramid at the center of the triangle. Now, what they say is if you pick the 3 points of the triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, and then triangulate where that pyramid is, if you use that same geometry and put them over the Alaska Triangle, where those points intersect is exactly right over Mount Hayes.
That is.
There's some interesting stuff for you.
Yeah. for
Now,
sure.
again, you've got the similarities of planes disappearing, people disappearing, ships disappearing over the Bermuda Triangle, and the amount of people that have gone missing within the area, because it's a pretty big space, but the difference is obviously that the Alaska Triangle is over land, whereas the Bermuda Triangle is over the ocean. So the similarities are very, very, very interesting. And that also ties into the Devil Sea off Japan as well.
I was just about to mention that.
Yeah.
The Formosa Triangle.
Yeah.
I would be very interested to do some research to see if there is any correlations between those lines and with the lines within the paranormal field with the ley lines.
The ley lines.
Ley lines, yep.
I would really like to see if there's some, I don't know, some.
Ley lines, unfortunately, are very hard to get an accurate map of because the energy lines of Earth, just by the very nature of them, can move slightly, but they do believe that they do follow certain paths and you can, over a large area, map a fairly accurate, but when you bring it down to specific localities and stuff, you could be out by a little bit when you're zooming in to that sort of level. So that lady, the lady I was telling you about earlier, who used to work for that secret for that secret Vatican team, she used to run a thing called Echoes, which is, I'm giving it away now. I mean, they're not around anymore, but that is a sound chamber where they use signal strength from the didgeridoo, the Australian didgeridoo, triangles, crystal bowls, to create all these tones. And the idea behind these is the amount of noise vibrating around the room penetrates the human body and the brain, changing the frequencies that the brain works at, which opens you up to more metaphysical and paranormal type activity. Now, where Echoes used to be located is on a direct ley line to Uluru, which, for those who aren't in Australia, you would know it as Ayers Rock. Now, it's interesting because what happens then is it's a 2.5 hour session and you're hearing all these deep tones, and like I said, it's a lot of noise, but after only a minute or two, the noise dissipates and you just feel the vibrations, and the next thing you know is they've got those little ding-a-ling triangles going off, and it breaks you out of it, and they tell you that 2.5 hours has gone by, and you go, I've only been in here 10 minutes. So is that a form of time travel, or is that disconnecting your brain waves from your body so that it's existing outside of time and space as we know it? Because
but that's using that as an example, though. That's like sleeping, having a dream, waking up, and going, "Did I time travel?"
Well, is it a possibility?
That's a very interesting possibility.
Because that's leading into astral travel, astral projection. When you're talking about the astral plane,
is it provoked?
Well, it's not just that. It's once you're in the astral plane, normal physics don't compute. You know, they don't exist in astral space and time.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So you could, in theory, now this is what I don't know if remote viewers use astral planes and astral projection as a form of getting this information, because with remote viewing, they actually believe they've made contact with alien species and stuff like that, which actually ultimately led them to Mount Hayes in Alaska. And that's an interesting thing. But to to be able, in a short period of time, right, if you're doing a small session of astral projection, and if you can reach an alien civilization on their home planet, that would mean that your consciousness is traveling well beyond the speed of light, which Einstein mathematically proved that once you pass the speed of light, you are effectively traveling backwards down the timeline, because you're overtaking light that has already passed you, if you know what I mean. What the theory is, if you're traveling at the speed of light, now I'm saying this in a linear fashion, right? You picture a straight line, okay, and time is traveling along that line. Now, obviously, because you can't go at the speed of light, time keeps traveling, so time is moving forward. But if you can accelerate, and ultimately you're matching the same, so you're matching the same point, then time, as you would see it, is standing still. So you're frozen in time, right? Now, if you accelerate beyond the speed of light, you have now passed that point. So in theory, you're now passing bits that you've already seen. So you're actually traveling backwards in time. So if they're remote viewing and accessing alien species on their own home planet, not only is it reaching out well beyond what our mechanical spacecraft can reach, but in theory, we're going back in time. So we're communicating with alien species from thousands of years ago. And that's probably why we don't get responses now. All the stuff that we're putting out there now, we might get responses for. And they keep saying, well, we're not getting any responses. But you look at the time dilation of space travel, we might be getting a whole load of responses that will come back in 100 years' time, in 200 years' time, when time catches up.
Well, that's actually a very good brain candy.
Oh man, I can mess with people's heads sometimes. I like that theory
for sure.
But
I think that's just helped my head just a little bit.
Well, the easiest example of this is to watch a film called.
I understand it, but it was like
if you watch a show called The Flight of the Navigator. If you and we've talked about this before, if you approach the speed of light, if you travel into space, approach the speed of light, and then come back to Earth, you've travelled 1 light year, wherever it is, and then you come back, 8 years or something like that have passed on Earth, or whatever the case may be, and you calculate that out to interstellar travel when you're going out beyond the edges of our galaxy, or well beyond our solar system at least anyway, you're going into the distance.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, light speed.
But,
there you go. Would be great to hear from Lynn. Yes, it would be good to hear from Lynn, but unfortunately she's in Queensland at the moment and it's midnight there, so she'll be tucked away having a nice sleep.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of puts a hole in your little thing there is time itself isn't linear nor circular.
No, it isn't. And that's what I'm saying, is the only way I can say it that you would understand it is to put it in a linear fashion. That's how that whole thing works. But exactly what you're saying is time. You're talking not even 3 dimensions. You're talking multiple dimensions, but and that's where this whole thing falls over on itself. I put it specifically into a linear fashion to make it understandable, the theory behind it, and that's where Einstein proved that time travel is possible theoretically based on a linear projection, but not in reality.
Yeah, but evolution is possible theoretically as well.
Evolution is happening. Modeling it is hard, and that's a conversation. That's a conversation.
That's why it's still a theory of evolution.
Yeah, and there was this thing. It was in one of the chat rooms. They were talking about, aliens just future humans, and everyone was saying no. But if you actually look at the, that evolutionary map that you see where it starts off as an ape and it goes up through Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon and then into modern Homo sapien. If you follow that from bent over and short and hairy, and then getting more upright, and the heads are becoming more pronounced, this, that, and that, and there's less body hair as you go to, and you come to Homo sapien. That's why I say I'm a very advanced human, because I'm losing my hair. But you project that forward, and you're going to end up with something that would potentially look very similar to a grey alien. Now, everybody says that grey aliens are just a cybernetic organism designed to do whatever they're programmed to do. But at the same time, usually if you're going to do something like that, you would model it off what your society looks like. You look at modern robotics and whatever is happening now, and AI, and how realistic some of them look, but they're modeling them based on humans. You know what I mean? So if the grey alien is a cybernetic organism, you would think it was modeled off its creator. And it's a possibility that it could be something that's come back in time. You think about it, there are so many shows where they talk about how Earth and people on Earth would lose, I mean, The Handmaid's Tale is a good one for that, lose fertility and stuff like that. So they'll have found some sort of a genetic problem that they can't fix. Well, if you have time travel and you send people back to abduct people and do reproductive experiments like artificial insemination, taking sperm from one person, I don't know, the old butt plug alien finger up the bum thing, all of those, right? I don't know what they get from that, but they take those genetics and then they take them back to the future to try and help repopulate the Earth. That's a possibility as well. I mean, it's all theoretical, and a lot of it is science fiction, but it is. I mean, let's face it, everything's science fiction until it's proven science fact.
That is facts, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it's a conspiracy theory, it's still a conspiracy theory, even if it's proven fact.
Yeah, I've noticed Carl's gone very quiet of late. His head's probably still hurting over that last big one, but we've done our usual thing. We're at an hour and 40 minutes, so we're probably going to have to call it now. These are only supposed to be hour-long shows, but we are constantly, I think, if you go back for our last lot of live streams, we keep knocking on the next one by a few minutes.
And look, Carl, gotta love a good program.
Well, with interesting conversation, always, time flies.
Oh yeah.
Time travels.
So does that mean because I've been sitting in the one chair and the time has moved, I've time traveled?
From when you started this podcast till now, yes.
So hang on. Therefore, time travel is possible because if you're flying different time zones, you're traveling through time.
But
well, like how Gary was saying early, with what I thought he was describing, like time loss.
Yeah.
I mean, technically speaking, there's a phrase out there that goes by, when you're having fun, time flies.
All right. Here's another one. Yeah, that's perception. Before we go, I'm going to throw one last one at you, and that is time does not exist.
No, it's man-made.
Time is a man-made construct. It is literally something that has been invented by man to measure from one moment to another. Time as we know it is based on the amount of times our planet does a rotation around itself, about our planet doing a rotation around our sun. And that is it. Time does not exist in space. Time does not exist in space. Therefore, is time travel actually possible? Because
if you're looking at it a technicality like that, no, because it's a block thing, as Einstein said.
Everything to do, it's like they talk about, one of the things that we studied when I was doing engineering stuff like that is define velocity. Velocity is the measure. Velocity is the measure of the difference between one speed and the next speed. It's the rate of increase of speed. That is what velocity is. Or acceleration. I could be even messing myself up.
Acceleration.
Yeah, acceleration.
A time machine.
Yeah. And this is what comes down to what this comes down totally what Einstein says is the math proves that it's possible. but the ability to create that is impossible as we know it at the moment.
That's another reason I don't believe in space travel at this minute. Or by space travel, I mean rockets. By space travel, I mean like shuttles to the moon.
That's not that far in astronomical terms,
No.
astrological terms. It's right next door, you know. It is possible, but again, when people turn around and say, when you got like the twin brothers, right? This is the twin cosmonaut brothers. One was on Earth, actual identical twins. One was on Earth, and one went up to the International Space Station for 6 months. When he came back down, there was a differential of, I think it was half a second or a second. I don't know how they even are able to calculate this out, but their age was out by a minuscule amount because he's been up in space. But time doesn't exist in space. There's no atmosphere. There's nothing. It's a void. So when we are measuring time based on our rotations around the planet and around the sun, they don't apply in space. So therefore, space and space-time does not exist.
Talking about the International Space Station, do you guys believe what Neil deGrasse Tyson said about the station?
What was that said?
Yes, Neil deGrasse Tyson mentioned that we humans didn't really reach outer space because even the International Space Station it's pretty much like next to Earth.
Exactly.
So we don't, as far as space travel is concerned, there's really nothing we could do to get too far.
Not at the moment, no. But the potential is out there. Anyway,
Yeah, that's it.
we are going to have to call it now. So, Fernando, if you stay on the line, just stay quiet for a couple of minutes, and then we'll have a quick chat with you after the show's finished. But
You're in trouble.
yes, you're in big trouble. All right.
Uh-oh.
Until next week, we should hopefully have a show coming out next Tuesday. Our technical issues are hopefully behind us, and the kitchen is now finished, so we should have time to start knocking some shows out again. And we will see you next Friday night for the live show. Now, to the 4 people that are watching, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Until then, take it easy, guys.
Have fun.